Welcome to the Argentinian Philosopher, ideas made simple for everyday life. This is part 1 of a two-parts video on rationalism, where I will explain the philosophies of Spinoza and Leibniz. Welcome to the Argentinian Philosopher. Baruch Spinoza and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz were two towering figures of early modern philosophy. Both were rationalists. Both thought to explain existence through reason alone, and both engaged deeply with the concept of God. Yet their views couldn't be more different. Spinoza saw God as an impersonal force identical to nature, without desires or intentions. Leibniz, on the other hand, saw God as a perfect, all-knowing being, who orchestrates reality with divine purpose. Why does this matter today? Because their ideas continue to influence debates on science, religion, artificial intelligence, and free will. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer understanding of their competing visions, and maybe even a new perspective on your own beliefs. Before we dive into their ideas, we need to set the stage. Who were these two intellectual giants? And why did their competing views on God and reality become so influential? Spinoza and Leibniz were both rationalists, philosophers who believed that human reason, rather than religious revelation or sensory experience alone, was key to understanding reality. But despite sharing this core commitment to reason, their lives and ideas developed in vastly different ways. Baruch Spinoza was born in Amsterdam in 1632 into a Portuguese Jewish family that had fled the Spanish Inquisition. His community was highly intellectual, but also deeply religious. From a young age, Spinoza was immersed in Jewish philosophy and biblical studies. But as he grew older, his radical ideas, especially his rejection of a personal God and divine intervention, made him a controversial figure. By the age of 23, Spinoza's ideas were considered so dangerous that he was excommunicated from the Jewish community of Amsterdam, a rare and severe punishment. From that moment on, he lived on the fringes of society, supporting himself by grinding optical lenses while working on his philosophical masterpiece, Ethics. Leibniz, on the other hand, had a completely different path. Born in Leipzig, Germany in 1646, he was a true polymath, a philosopher, mathematician, diplomat, historian, and scientist all in one. While Spinoza was isolated and shunned, Leibniz was celebrated across Europe. He worked for royal courts, corresponded with leading intellectuals of his time, and even independently developed calculus alongside Newton. Unlike Spinoza, whose radicalism kept him outside traditional institutions, Leibniz moved freely through academic and political circles. He advised monarchs, debated theological issues with church leaders, and worked to create a grand synthesis of science, philosophy, and religion. Despite their differences, both men were driven by a single profound question: what is the ultimate nature of reality? Spinoza sought to free philosophy from religious dogma, while Leibniz sought to reconcile faith and reason. And at the heart of their debate was a fundamental question: what or who is God? This question would lead them to some of the most profound and opposing views in the history of philosophy, and it's where our journey truly begins. Spinoza's concept of God isn't like anything proposed before him. He rejected the idea of a personal God who listens to prayers, makes decisions, and intervenes in humans' affairs. Instead, he argued that God is the totality of existence itself, what he calls substance. This is one of the most radical redefinitions of divinity in Western philosophy. At the heart of Spinoza's philosophy is his famous phrase, Deus sive Natura, God or nature. But what does this mean? He doesn't mean that God created nature. He means that God is nature. Every single thing in existence, matter, energy, thought, time, is just an expression or mode of this infinite substance. This means that God is not a being separate from the world. There is no division between the creator and the creation. They are the same. This directly contradicted traditional religious views, which saw God as a transcendent personal entity overseeing the universe. For Spinoza, that God doesn't exist. There is no divine personality, no divine will, and no external force guiding events, only the eternal and necessary laws of nature. Think of it like this. Imagine the universe as an infinite interconnected web. Every individual thing, a human, an animal, a planet, or a thought, is a small thread in this vast web. None of these exist independently. They are all expressions of the same underlying reality. Nothing exists outside of it, and nothing can break free from its structure. One of Spinoza's most shocking claims is that free will is an illusion. According to him, everything happens by necessity, not just physical events, but even our thoughts, desires, and decisions. In other words, we believe we are choosing freely, but in reality, every decision we make is determined by a vast chain of prior causes stretching back infinitely. Imagine you decided to have coffee instead of tea. It feels like a free decision, but Spinoza would argue that this decision was based on countless factors. For instance, your past experience, your biological makeup, external factors, and even the weather that day. Every decision follows necessarily from what came before it, like a mathematical equation unfolding. This also means that for Spinoza, miracles do not exist. A miracle would imply a suspension of natural laws, but if God and nature are the same, that is impossible. Everything happens in accordance with the eternal, unbreakable order of the universe. What we call a miracle is simply something we don't yet understand. This raises an important question. If we have no free will and everything is determined, what does that mean for ethics and personal responsibility? Are we just passive spectators in the grand machine of the universe? According to Spinoza, true freedom comes not from escaping necessity, but from understanding it. The more we understand the true causes of our emotions and actions, the more we can achieve peace and inner harmony. For example, when we feel anger or jealousy, we often believe that we are making a conscious choice to act based on those emotions. But Spinoza argues they arise from external causes. We don't choose to feel them. By understanding the necessity of these emotions, we can gradually free ourselves from their control. This is why Spinoza believed that philosophy, and especially understanding the laws of the universe and the mind, was the key to true happiness. This also means that morality is not about obeying divine commandments, but about aligning ourselves with reason and the natural order. The more rational we become, the more we understand our place in the universe, and the less we suffer from fear, hatred, and confusion. In this sense, Spinoza's philosophy is almost therapeutic. It aims to liberate us from ignorance and negative emotions. This idea resonated deeply with later thinkers like Albert Einstein, who once said he believed in Spinoza's God, a God who reveals himself in the lawful order of the world, not in personal intervention. Why should we care about Spinoza's ideas today? Because they are more relevant than ever before. Science and determinism. Spinoza's view aligns with modern physics and neuroscience, which suggests that everything follows natural laws without divine intervention. Today, the debate over free will and determinism is central to discussions in psychology, artificial intelligence, and cognitive science, ethics, and well-being. Many aspects of Spinoza's philosophy align with modern mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy. His belief that understanding the causes of emotions reduces suffering is reflected in contemporary psychology. Philosophy and secularism. Spinoza's rejection of a personal God was foundational for modern secularism, humanism, and naturalism. His work paved the way for future debates on atheism, agnosticism, and the role of religion in society. Spinoza's vision of God as nature itself was a new way of understanding reality. Whether you agree with him or not, his ideas continue to shape modern debates on science, ethics, free will, and the nature of existence itself. This is the end of our first video on rationalism. I will see you next time with our second part on Leibniz. And if you like this video, please consider to like, share, and subscribe. For now, thank you and goodbye.